Back at it here, guys. So what I went and did is I bought an intercooler from VRSF, and here it is. I went ahead and already opened it. It comes with some new T-bolt clamps and some couplers. So these look like, I don't know, 3 or 4 ply. So this intercooler is a little bit bigger than the factory one. This one is 3.5 inches thick, where the factory one is 2 3/4. This one is approximately 24.25 to 24.5 inches on the core lengthwise, and about well, maybe I should remeasure because I've already forgotten. 11. It's about, I don't know, 11 3/4 tall. So the factory one is about 19 1/4 on the length, and it's about 11.5 on the height. So the aftermarket one is longer and it's thicker. So we're going to go ahead and install that today. And the first thing you need to do, well, I don't know if you have to do it, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take off this front crash bar just to make getting it in there a little bit easier. So it looks like there's 2 bolts on each side up in here, and they are 12mm. So 2 there, and then 2 up in this one. So you can't really see it, but they're up in there. So those are 12mm. So I'll go ahead and I'll take this apart, and hopefully that'll make it a little bit easier to work on this. So let's go ahead and get started. So with those 4 bolts loose, that just comes right off. Now we have nice clear access to swap the intercooler. Alright, next, undo the clamps here and the clamp here, and then you have 3 more bolts. These are 12mm as well. So you got 1 here, 1 here, and 1 there. So we'll go ahead and take those off now. There you go, intercooler is loose. Now we'll just try to pull this whole assembly off. Might need to break it loose from the coupler down here. There we go. We are off. There you go. Pretty simple. So there's a little comparison there of the aftermarket versus the factory. So you can tell that it's thicker and it's decently longer. So let's go ahead and get this on. So a couple issues with this installation here real quick. You might need to buy new bolts. Focus, there we go. So the factory ones, you know, they were in a different location because the intercooler was shorter. So the factory one is here, which is actually up underneath about this location here. But you can't use that anymore, obviously. So you have to use, there's a couple of existing threaded holes right here on the car, so you can try to use these. This is not perfect, obviously, but I might need to tweak some stuff up here in the engine compartment to get that to line up better. And coming over here on this side, you can see that this is pretty much touching the fan, and you can see the gap here that I got to work with. So I got to find some spacers, which you can actually pull off the old rubber pieces here that go in the factory intercooler right there, and you can mount these back here like so. But the problem is that the bolt's not long enough. So this intercooler is hitting the fan here, and I've still got, I don't know, an inch to an inch and a half between the car and the intercooler bracket. So, I mean, if this intercooler bracket was angled backwards and then over, it would probably work better. But when you do that, then this bracket's not long enough. So if I angled this backwards this way, and then I would have to put another 90 in it right here, it's just not long enough to fit like that. So I might need to go out and get a longer bolt, so I can put 2 of these spacers back here. 2 of these spacers will work, but then the bolt for it is not long enough. So here's the factory bolt here. If I use 2 of those, you can see that it's not long enough. So I'll figure something out here and keep working at it. Okay, so here's what I had to do. I had to take the washers, or the rubber mounts, isolators, out of the factory intercooler. And then I had to use 2 on this side. So I'll kind of show you where it's screwed in, up underneath these lines here. Turn the light on. I used 2 of those rubber isolators on this side for this mount here. Now, of course, this one doesn't have a top mount. ETS does have a bracket for the top here. And then I ended up using one of those rubber isolators on this one here behind here. So all I got to do now is just figure out how to get these to line up. So I'll probably have to come up here in the engine bay and finagle some of these coolant hoses up here to get this to fit down here. So, but right now it's kind of partially mounted. I have this side buttoned up coming from the turbo. So now I just have to connect the other side. Now, one thing that I didn't mention when I was taking this apart is these shields here, like for the radiator, I'm assuming. I had to take these off. Maybe this one goes on this side, I'm not quite sure. Yeah, I think this one might go on this side. These had to come off to fit these down in there. I'm gonna try to get these to fit back down in here with this intercooler. I might have to trim them, but I'm gonna try to see if I can get these to fit back down in there. So if I can, awesome. If I can't, then these will just have to stay off. So those could be a casualty of war for a bigger intercooler. So, all right, for these splash shields, when I went to reinstall these, this one over here wouldn't fit. So the intercooler was just too big. So what I had to do is I had to trim it. I had to cut out a little section down here. Let me pull this off so you can see. I basically had to cut out this section here. So this kind of came all the way across essentially, and so I notched that. So this now fits up in here. That now fits, so I can reuse that, and it clears the bracket. This side over here, I probably could have trimmed it. It is hitting in here a little bit. You can see that there's a gap. This is probably notched out for these hoses here. So that probably could be trimmed like right along here to bring this in a little closer, but all the clips here fit and everything lined up. All the little pins were able to push in. So I just left that as is. So that's it, guys. It's all done. Not too bad. So just a little bit of modification here and there. I was able to get this buttoned up and on there. What I had to do is come up here and finagle this engine intake piping a little bit to get it to fit. So before, that bracket went down to this hole here, and that's what held it in. So now it's just, you know, up because I had to rework how it was ran. So all in all, not too bad. What I might end up doing is fabbing up a center bracket here for this, just to hold it a little bit better. So maybe I will, maybe I won't, I don't know. So it'd be nice if it was here. I know other companies have that center one, so I guess with it centered, or you know, you can use this as your locator on the car. So, but other than that, it's all done, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and throw the bumper back on. I'm going to probably fab up some different intercooler sprayers for this. I'll make a video at that time when I do it. All right, guys, thank you.